Hey guys, if you are someone who spends thousands of hours on research, I have something for you. For example, you can ask what is quantum computing, and this piece of software will do the research for you, go to the web, fetch everything, and compile a report for you where it gives an in-depth exploration, the introduction, practical application, challenges, and the conclusion. So if you like to create such a report, I would like to introduce you to GPT Researcher. So GPT Researcher is a GPT-based autonomous agent that does the online comprehensive research on your behalf on any given topic. So what is the need of such a researcher? Now we know that AutoGen or such other frameworks that we have already seen do not produce a detailed, factual, and an unbiased report. So this GPT Researcher is an autonomous agent which is designed for comprehensive online research on a variety of tasks, and it can produce detailed, factual, and unbiased research report with customization options for focusing on relevant resources, outlines, and lessons. Now this has been inspired by the Plan and Solve and RAG papers. Now if you go ahead and see the Plan and Solve paper, it is an improved version of zero-shot chain of thought reasoning, but instead of chain of thought reasoning, it uses plan and solve prompting. So this is a better approach till date. Also, GPT Researcher addresses issues of speed, determinism, and reliability. So some of the issues that we face while using tools like AutoGen and other frameworks is that they're more hallucinating towards an answer. But this GPT Researcher, the structure is like that. We have less hallucination and it's easier and accurate results are on the go. So why GPT Researcher? To form objective conclusions for manual research tasks, which can take so much of your time. Current LLMs are trained on past and outdated information with heavy risk of hallucination, making them almost irrelevant for recent tasks. So GPT Researcher solves that issue by getting real-time information with the help of API Tavily Search. Now services that enable the web search, for example ChatGPT and the web plugin, they only consider limited resource sources and content that in some cases result in superficial and biased answer. So there we have GPT Researcher who can solve all these issues that is existent with the ChatGPT and other web plugins that we have. We'll see how to do this installation and get this running. Now the architecture behind it is that there are two things. First is the planner here, and then we have the execution. So the planner plans and generates questions to research, and the execution agent seeks the most relevant information based on each of the generated questions. So for example, we have, when we start off a task, we create a domain-specific agent based on the task at hand, and that agent generates a few research questions. Now for each of these questions, we run the executor separately, we search the web separately, form an opinion, form a report separately, and then compile the report and give it as an output. In addition to that, we are using the Tavily API to crawl the web, and that is another advantage that we have with the Tavily API because it is a search engine which is optimized for the LLMs and RAGs. So it's not like just a Google search, it's not like just a Google API or Bing API. It is fine-tuned for the purpose of LLM and the RAG applications. So we'll see how to get started with that. But looking at the features again, we can generate research, outlines, resources, and lessons report with local documents and web sources. We can generate long and detailed research reports over 2K words. We can aggregate over 20 web sources per research to form the objective and factual conclusions. We have a user interface as well, using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It can scrape the web sources with JavaScript support, keep track and context of visited and used web resources. Now export the research reports to PDF, Word, and other documents. So let's get this started. Let's get this running. So the first and foremost step is that we need to have Python 3.11 or later installed on your system. Now if you click here to get the steps for installation, we can see that once we download from python.org, we download the latest version or any version which is greater than 3.11, and then we download the installer, just run this installer, add the Python to path, which is where you can use that, and then we just control and proceed with the installations. So after we have the installations of Python, the next step that we can do is we can clone this repo. So I'm gonna go to this code and copy this repo. I'm going to select a folder where I'm going to work. So this is the folder. I'm going to say cmd to open up the command prompt, and then I'm going to say git. So of course we need to have git install as well. So git clone the repo ID or the repo link. Then we copy this GPT Researcher name, and once we have downloaded the contents of the repo, we say cd or change directory to GPT Researcher. Now we are inside the GPT Researcher folder. We need to say code space dot enter. This will open up Visual Studio Code Editor with the present folder that we have just downloaded. Now the first and foremost thing that we need to do is to load up an environment. So I open up a new terminal. Let me just start up the screencast mode so that you can see what I'm typing. So I want to see the list of environments that I have. So Conda info --envs. This will show me the list of environments that I have. So I have already tested this out on this researcher environment, but how did I get this researcher environment? So we say Conda create -n researcher, then Python, let's say in small, Python equal to 3.11-y. So using this command, you can create an environment in the name of this researcher. And once we have this researcher environment, what you can do is we can say Conda activate and put in the name of the environment. So we can see that we are inside the researcher environment now. Now what you can do is install all the requirements here. So the requirements are these requirements that we have. Now I've already installed, but I'm just going to show you how to install. So we say pip install -r requirements.txt. So once we say that, it is going to install all the requirements which I mentioned here. About 34 requirements installation needs to be done. So this is done. I say cls. Now what you can do is we can set up the environment variables. Now here we have .env.example. So I'm just going to rename this to .env, and I'm going to put in my Openai key and Tavily API key. So to get the Openai API key, I head over to platform.openai.com. Then the API keys here. I create a new API key, put in something, any name, click on create secret key. Once we have this key, copy this and paste it here. Okay. For the Tavily API search, we go to Tavily here. We say try it out, app.tavily.com. And here in the API keys, we can copy this API key and we can just paste it here. Okay, once we have that, we can go back to the instruction list. We can go back to the instruction and see that we have cloned this. We changed the repo. We have set up the API keys, and the only thing that we need to do now is to run this unicorn main app and reload. So I paste this and press enter. This is going to run and start up the services here. So it's starting the services in the local host. So I say control and just click here. This will open up this web UI and it's ready to go. So here, say goodbye to hours of research. Say hello to GPT Researcher, your AI made for rapid insights. Researcher does care of everything, accurate sources, gathering of information, and it makes a research process a breeze. So get started. What would you like me to research next? So let's say we say, what is quantum computing? And here we can select anyone. Let's take the short summary and click on research. So you can see, thinking about research question for the task, starting the research task for what is quantum computing. Then it selects the science agent. This is going to conduct search on the internet with these terms. It added these source URL to research. It got few source URL. So these are the URLs. It extracted the contents of the URL, added to its answers, then researching for relevant information, getting relevant content based on the question. So we can see that it is able to extract so many things. There are different sources. It was able to find out relevant sources and added everything that is pertinent to the question at hand. Now it's again researching for different relevant information, getting the quantum computing for 2024 because this is the present year, and it's continuing even further. So let's wait for the agent to extract the information, and then it should start up the report making process. So writing summary. So this is the quantum computing and in-depth exploration, introduction to quantum computing, mechanics of quantum computing. Then we have quantum gates, current state of quantum computing, technological process, government and private investment, practical applications, challenges in quantum computing, error correction, scalability, software development, future prospects, quantum advantage, commercialization, educational initiatives, conclusions, and the very own references. I think this is a pretty in-depth understanding and in-depth output of quantum computing. How did you like it? So you can go ahead and try this out. Of course, you are going to need Openai API key and the Tavily API key for the search, but we had a few other LLM providers as well. So we have used the OpenAI here. We could use the Gemini as well of Google here, and you can use the Azure OpenAI as well. But I don't find Ollama or other open source models here, but definitely we should try to improve this code. As this is an open source code, we need to improve this code and change this code and make it our own and try this out. So I hope you like this video. Subscribe to my channel, support me on Patreon if you think these efforts are well taken by the community. Thank you and have a nice day. Watch the other video here.